Hello, Liv. How are we?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. So firstly, thank you for taking the time out to jump on today.
My pleasure. Thank
And
you.
also, it's a little bit of a tradition on the show for us to kick things off with the choice of brew. So, if you want to, have we got a brew?
I mean, it's not by a brew, northern sense, that's a tea, isn't it?
Well, interesting. I've got a coffee because I think it can be a tea or a coffee. So, depending on the time of day. So, what have you gone for?
Well, controversial.
Okay.
A black coffee, but with hot chocolate in it. So it's kind of a fake mocha.
Interesting.
And a straw.
And what's the straw? What's the reason behind the straw?
So basically, that I obviously coffee stains your teeth, right?
It does.
And I really want to get my teeth whitened, so I thought I might as well get used to drinking hot drinks through a straw.
Yeah, 100%.
To save my teeth. So now I have hot drinks with a straw.
Interesting. And usually, would coffee be like a staple, or would you go for a tea as well, or what is your go-to? Is that your go-to?
Yeah, this is my go-to, 100%. I'm not much of a tea. The only time I'd ever have tea is if I'm putting biscuits in it. To be honest,
it's got to be a what we're talking, digestives or hobnobs?
Custard cream.
Oh, custard cream. Fair enough. You've opened up a new dimension.
Yeah.
Very nice. So I just stick with the double espresso in the morning, and then afternoons, no caffeine for me. Otherwise, I can't get sleep. Like, I think it's weird. Like, after it's like 1 p.m. and I'm just like, if anything after kind of 1 p.m., like if I'm training in the afternoon, and well, I train in the morning, but if I did, like, I'd just have to reduce that caffeine. Do you know what I mean? How do you feel about? I mean, would you?
I feel you.
Yeah.
It depends on the day.
Yeah.
I try not to have caffeine in the afternoon. I did used to, especially kind of, I'd say the last, probably from January up until April, I used to have I would have a caffeine drink maybe 6, 7 p.m.
to
keep me going.
Yeah.
Because I would just be absolutely shattered with work and long hours. But now
we're different.
Which
we will probably get into. So for those, if people have just tuned in, for the audience, you and I are in the same kind of field of work, obviously different kind of areas, but you and I are both coaches. Would you consider yourself a personal trainer or a coach? Or both?
A coach.
Yeah.
100%. To be honest, right, I am the worst rep counter out there. So I don't even think I could get the label personal trainer. I am horrific. I will try and count the reps of all the team. I'll be like, right, okay, last one. And they're like, Liv, I've got 3 more.
Yeah.
Thanks for the honesty.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you can be a world-class coach, but maybe maths isn't, I agree what you're saying.
Not my pro.
I've had clients say the same, whether it's a similar thing, but so what would you kind of, obviously, when people assume personal trainer, I think we're probably on the same line for what they assume that we are. So how would you say that a coach differs from that?
So in my eyes, a personal trainer is someone who you would go to maybe once or twice a week to get absolutely feasted, and then it's zilch up until the following week. No communication, nothing in regards to what you might be doing outside of those sessions. There's no method behind the idea of the sessions going forwards and that link together, whereas a coach takes the whole of you into consideration. I think it's more of I don't want to say holistic approach, but a little bit more so than a personal trainer. I say it in quotations. Yeah. So I think taking so much more about them, their lifestyle, factors in and outside the gym, their nutrition, making sure their mental health is okay, is a coach.
I pretty much completely agree with what you're saying. I think we get there's a lot of stigma as well, isn't there, like around it. And I think people do come to us with the assumption that they perhaps can get a result just seeing us, just once a week and then never not speak to them in between. And I just don't believe it's the case. So I think I was just very curious to get your opinion on that as well.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Which is good as well. So what was it, Liv, that kind of brought you into the fitness industry? Is there anything in particular?
Yeah, so I've been into fitness as such since I was about 5 years old. So I'm 23 now. Okay. So here we go, maths again. 18 years.
Yeah, so if you were 5 and now you're 23, yes,
18,
you are okay. Right. Yeah,
I can say that with confidence.
I think we're right.
Okay, 18 years, gosh. So yeah, I started off in elite gymnastics when I was 5.
Oh, wow.
Training 5-6 days a week. I was basically doing more hours in the gym than I pretty much was at school. And it was intense. So I did that until I was about 12. So for 7 years, I was competing in gymnastics and then made the switch into highboard diving until I was about 17. So it's always been like a really integral, important part of my life. Did I think I would ever become a coach? I don't think so. I funnily enough, in my year 6 leavers book, I put that I wanted to be a gymnastics coach. So I think deep down, it's always been something that was so obvious. It wasn't obvious. It was so in front of me and so there that I probably turned a bit of a blind eye.
Yeah.
And then lockdown happened and everything changed.
Completely. What was it that so going into gymnastics, Liv, was that kind of, I mean, you obviously at a young age, how did you just kind of went into that through parents and things, I'm assuming, or like how did that sort of come about then? Yeah.
So I'm I believe very fortunate in the fact that my parents have never been extremely pushy in academics.
Yeah.
There's more to me, my family, there's a lot more to life than academia, which I'm really thankful for. And my parents put us in lots of sports when we were younger. And basically all that happened was I got talent spotted.
Yeah.
And they said, right, do you want to come and try at a bigger gym into more of an elite program?
Wow.
And it just rolled from there.
I never knew that. That is pretty interesting. What was the so what sort of level did you get to then?
So I was competing like nationally, internationally.
Oh wow.
For my very first international competition, I was 8. So we went away as a club to Malta.
Oh wow.
My first time when I was 8, away from my parents.
I
remember it like it was yesterday.
Wow, that is mad. 8 years old. I think I was probably in the garden running around in my underpants playing football. That's crazy. I mean, it's amazing, amazing. But do you feel those, I guess, what you've probably learned from that experience, do you believe that's maybe carried over into who you are now, would you say?
100%. No doubt. I think there was pros and cons to life as a gymnast, for sure. In the same way as diving, I had no social life, but then at the same time, I learned all these skills and coaching styles. Now that I am a coach, I feel like I can embody who I believe I could work with, in a sense.
Interesting.
I had a lot of coaches, some who I perhaps wouldn't want to be like, some who I really looked up to and I got on very well with, and some who I really admire from other places. And I guess now, being in that position, I've just put together everything I've learned since the age of 5 until 17 and being able to pass it off, but this time to adults rather than a kid.
Yeah. But I think what you said there is amazing, because like, I think it sounds like you've just almost picked bits from each coach and you can almost mold it into how, which is a little bit, I guess, like we are with Oliver, like you pick bits of people's brains, don't you? And then you can obviously mold it into kind of how you see if you want to be type thing. So some of the pros then, would you say things like routine and things like that were a big pro for you?
Yeah, I think because I spent so many years with a really rigid structure, I really understand what commitment habit is, because I never thought twice. I would, go to school, come home from school, go straight to the gym or straight to the pool, come home from that, go to sleep and do the same the next day. I never second thought it. It became part of my life. And now, that's what I pass off, that fitness. It needs to become a part of your life, not just be that add-on extra.
100%.
So that's definitely a big plus. I think understanding the importance of movement and keeping it up.
Consistency.
Because even now, okay, I am probably more flexible than your average population.
Yeah.
However, in comparison to how I was even just 5 years ago, I am not as flexible anymore. So automatically, I know my mobility has decreased. And it's only been a few years since I've really properly trained it and been doing it consistently. So they're definitely some of the big pros,
which I believe are massive pros. If anybody's wanting to kind of succeed in an area of life or anything in general, I think you've got to be consistent. You've got to understand that it needs to become, like you said, a part of you in your life. I think a lot of people do think that it's just on the side. And if you truly do want to, if you want to get them life-changing results, you have got to go all in, I believe. Obviously there is going to be hurdles and things along the way. So what would you say the major cons were? So we can even sort of fast forward a few years if you want to, sort of when you were diving. What would you say the biggest kind of cons were to sort of performing at that elite level, like with training and everything?
I would say when I was younger, the cons were still quite social. I didn't go to birthday parties. I didn't go ice skating in case I hurt myself. I didn't ski. All of these things that a lot of my friends would be doing, I couldn't do. And the same went up until I was about 17, missing out on parties and social things. I think another con, it's hard on your physical well-being, your emotional well-being. It's not easy. I think people look at gymnasts and divers on the Olympic stage, the world stage, and they think, wow, they look amazing. But when you actually dive a lot deeper into their training and how I'm sure there's lots of tears shed in the run up and post competitions. And I think something, even for me growing up, going forwards, I think gymnastics is a beautiful sport. I think it is stunning. It teaches you so many things. Would I want my future child to go in and go to a really elite level? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Interesting. So would you say, perhaps this is going to be maybe a tough question, but pros and cons, what is outweighed for you? I mean, obviously you're not doing it right now, but are the cons outweighed to the pros?
No, pros, 100%.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have changed it for the world.
Perfect.
Yeah, there was times where it was pretty poo, but I quite simply would not be what I'm doing or who I am today without it.
Perfect.
So
amazing. And what is the kind of training style of, obviously there's a lot of flexibility, there's obviously a lot of strength required in both gymnastics and I'm assuming like high board diving as well. I mean, obviously you're a lot younger then, but what is the sort of training like?
In terms of how we would run a session, like in the gym?
Yeah, I'm very curious to know, like, obviously there's some levels of fitness that is required as well. So I just kind of wondered how it's kind of split into,
Okay.
not like, obviously you don't have to go deep in, but like just a little bit of an example of
No, yeah. Gymnastics would do conditioning at the end of a session. So for people who might not know, in gymnastics, women's at least, there's 4 disciplines. You've got uneven bars, the beam, floor, and vault. All very, very different disciplines, need different skills for each of them. So a session would look like, maybe we go through all four pieces, maybe just 2, maybe 3. It depended on the day, but we would normally always finish with conditioning. No one ever looked forward to it because it hurts.
Yeah.
Literally that simple. And a lot of it would be body weight, and maybe we'd have like wrist weights or ankle weights on. But I guess it's how can I best link
Because I'm
it?
assuming technique is like so important. So I guess it is just like getting your reps in, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of progressions and regressions. I think that's something that I've brought forward with me as well. I think for me, a progression and regression exercise comes quite naturally because I've probably done it.
Yeah.
And, you know, coming up with weird and wonderful ways to do something, the random things that we would do to learn a skill sticks with me always. In diving, it was a little bit more plyometrics. Obviously, you need a lot of power. We would do a lot of more so like Olympic weightlifting.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I was really interested to know squats, how kind of that went into it.
Yeah. So we would do a lot more things with weights.
Am I right?
Whether it be barbells, etc.
Would I be right in saying with kind of gymnastics, do you need to be as light as possible, or is that not, like, obviously is there a certain physique that you need to kind of possess?
Oh,
like I want to.
You know what? I want to say no, but yeah. And I think that's something where there can be a bit of a red flag.
Right. Okay.
In like the gymnastics community as a whole. Not everyone is fit for gymnastics.
Yeah.
It literally is as simple as that. However, when you are in it, measures will probably be put in place that can control around weight and physique to make sure you are staying in the most beautiful gymnastics body.
Would you say, I would probably say genetics plays a huge part as well, because I think perhaps, like, you know, when there's this, I think it might have been James Smith that had said this a while ago, but he'd said he didn't play rugby. He played rugby because he had broad shoulders. He didn't have broad shoulders because he played rugby. So in gymnastics, if you already have that, do you know what I mean? Like that kind of.
No, I totally know what you mean.
Like, I'm not saying petite, but like that sort of area of physique, maybe that would be more beneficial 100%. For you in that field.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, we're quite a small family. My mum and dad are quite small. I was always very small but very strong and powerful. Some gymnasts are a little bit taller but have more lines as such. More elegant, kind of flow a little bit more. And so that's where I would excel more so on floor and vault, because I had that power, that speed.
Absolutely.
My bars and beam maybe weren't quite at the same level as those who had the lovely elegant lines, beautiful toe points, nice splits, etc. So definitely plays a part.
Absolutely. I think, and as well, you've got to almost like, look, genetics are genetics, aren't they? But if you can maximize what you've already got, like you sound like you have, you're going to be in a good position. What was, so from, if we sort of we'll sort of scurry forward a touch, Liv. So from, what was why did you stop?
So I stopped gymnastics. I had a bit of a clash, a long time coming clash with my coaches. Like I said, gymnastics is a sport where it can be very emotionally hard.
Okay.
And it got to the point where my parents couldn't see me like that anymore, and I needed out. So right. That's when I went into diving. Diving I stopped when I was 17, and I loved it. I could sing praises for it every day. It was, I do look back and I think, wow, you know what, I really do miss it. But at the time it wasn't meant to be. I was sort of told something that prevented me from wanting to keep it going. I've always been someone who wants to, if I'm going to do something,
you're going to do
it. You better know I'm going to really do it.
I've only met you twice, and I can already say that is, we're on the same page with that. So I understand that, you know, you're going to crack on and get it done.
Yeah.
So obviously we don't need to know exactly what that is. But like, is it kind of, how can I explain it? It's not like, was it more something how it have impacted you as a person? For like, or did you just feel like perhaps it wouldn't be the right path in terms of longer term, maybe?
Yeah. So with diving, so I got to a point where I was more so specializing in 10-meter platform, which is basically, the best way to explain it is Tom Daley diving.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Essentially, right.
Yeah.
So I got to a point where I was specializing a lot more so in that. Now for my build, like I said, I'm quite small and stocky. My build was more of a build that you would see maybe on the 3-meter springboard.
Right. Okay.
But it just wasn't my thing.
Yes.
So I was on platform. And I pretty much to be honest, I was pretty much told if I didn't lose weight, then I wasn't going to get on to Team GB as a platform diver. And I think that really knocked me. And I saw it as, well, if I'm just not going to get picked, to be completely honest, I've missed out on a lot of my life. I'm falling out of love with it, because I know that it's not me and my skills that are going to determine that. It's how I look and how I am in a swimsuit. And it crumbled me a bit.
That kind of goes on to a little bit about the gymnastics, what we just mentioned about how you maybe have to look a certain way, but like that can't have made you feel very good. Like, if for somebody to kind of not call you out, but just say you need to be a different physique, it's like, whoa, like I'm pretty happy with where I am.
Yeah, I think definitely some traits might have carried over. I mean, I really, really respect the coach that said this to me, and don't get me wrong, it probably wasn't the best thing to have been told. However, I have a lot of respect for this coach. But you know, I remember once going in and my parents had just got me a new swimsuit for my birthday, and it was, in my opinion, it was beautiful. It was white and kind of this leopard print and just so lovely. And he basically told me that he didn't really want me to see me wearing it again, and I need to be wearing all black swimsuits to make me look slimmer. And so now the ironic thing is, you're not going to see me in many colors. I'm not much of a colorful person. Obviously I've got a black top on. I probably wear more black than any other color if you looked at my wardrobe.
Interesting. So you feel like, wow, okay. Yeah. And you've got to be quite thick-skinned to sort of take that, Liv. Like, if you said that to some people, like, you know, later down the line, it might, you know, who knows what that could have sort of brought on. But obviously, I had a massive respect for the coach, obviously involved and everything. From diving, then, once you sort of finished with diving, did you sort of think, what's next?
Yeah, I lost my identity, because I had always been a gymnast. Then I'd been a diver, and then it was like, I've got to do something, because I can't be nothing.
Yeah,
I can't just be Liv. That's not a thing. It was never a thing. So I went into cheerleading.
Oh, wow.
I'd never done a team sport in my life.
Yeah.
And went into cheerleading, but my cheerleading journey was very, very short-lived. It was about 6 months, and then I had an injury that meant I needed an operation and basically took me out of sport for years and years.
Oh, wow.
So that was that.
What was the injury, Liv, if you don't mind me asking? Was it a...
So for those of you who don't really know, like, anatomy and etc. So I ruptured my ACL, tore my MCL, and fractured my shin in one. So basically, one of the ligaments on the inside of your knee burst on impact. The one, if you're looking down on your knee on the inside, the ligament like next to your kneecap, that tore. And then from the impact, the top of my shin fractured.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that was really good fun. Yeah.
So I mean, how long were you out for then? Like, I'm gonna say, like, and then there's rehab and everything.
Yeah, it was a really long journey. Luckily at the time I was able to go privately, and even then my leg was just so swollen. There was so much fluid from the fracture. I had to wait 3, 4, 5 months before the surgery. Then after that, it was probably 9, 10 months before I was discharged from physio.
Wow.
So it was a long process.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you kind of do? I guess, well, there's nothing you can do, is there? It's just about almost controlling what you can. And then when obviously you had a lot of time to kind of think about things, was that a period there where you were like, right, again, what am I going to do next? Was that how you kind of got into weightlifting and thing? Or did you sort of go into, what was sort of next for you after that?
I think I really took it in my stride at the time. Weirdly, I caught up on a lot of sleep from the years that I'd probably missed.
Yeah.
And I really think it sounds very backwards, but I think my body needed it. Not the knee, obviously, but it needed the rest. Otherwise, I just wouldn't have ever given it the rest it needed. I think I started getting a little bit into weights post my knee, not massively so, but more so I was extremely imbalanced, very, very imbalanced. And I still have imbalances now. Obviously, I've trained in a way to try and bring that gap as narrow as I could.
Yeah, of course.
But to be honest, in terms of weightlifting, I would say I really got back into it with full passion lockdown, in the same way that my career changed and I became a coach in lockdown. So I think what you made about lockdown, for me, that first one was, I quite liked it. It made me a coach.
I completely understand. I'm very similar. It was, it'd have been like it'd have been literally that period. I was studying to be a coach then. Once I got qualified, lockdown was what you made of it, wasn't it? We had a lot of time where we could just delve in, benefit ourselves, and we had a lot more time to think about what we wanted and, again, essentially like who we were, who we wanted to become. And I think a lot of people was putting negative spins on things, but it's how it's how you view it, isn't it? And what you want to get out of the situation. And then you sort of, I guess that was when Nuffield came around, am I right in saying? But the gyms were closed, so right?
Yeah, so I was actually working in fashion. Pre-COVID.
Okay.
Honestly, I know.
No, this is a hell of a journey. I love it.
Yeah, I'm very, I don't want to say random, but I think because so much of my life had been taken up by sport, to be completely honest, I'll put my hands up. I never even thought about what I wanted to do post-education.
Yes.
I didn't go to uni. I didn't even apply for uni. I didn't even write a personal statement. No, that wasn't for me.
And I think because you obviously had that much going, you were that driven by sport. Like I think a lot, it's just like tunnel vision, isn't it? Nothing else. Like, this is me. And then, you know, I guess like you've mentioned, when that finished, you think like, shit, what's next, essentially?
Yeah, basically.
So do you feel like that was that kind of like, yeah, you were a bit, oh, I'll just try this, I'll try that, like dip your toe in?
Yeah. I thought like, oh, what do I want to do? What sounds fun? Because like even my A levels, I did 3 random subjects and I did them because I was interested in them. I wasn't someone to go and do 2 maths and a science to get into uni, because that was never going to go down with me.
Yeah.
Personal opinion, it just was not going to happen. And I just thought about what I, again, quotation marks, wanted to do, because I don't think I ever really wanted to go into a desk job.
Yeah.
But essentially I left school, did a 1-year course at a fashion college doing business and marketing, then got a internship at a really big company, going around different departments, and it got stopped because of COVID. And I remember sitting and thinking, I really don't think I want to do a desk job again.
Yeah.
I don't think deep down I ever actually enjoyed it. Now I can hands down say I feel like I am doing what I'm supposed to be.
Perfect. Yes.
Whereas beforehand I was just doing it because it was like, oh yeah, like London job. So I live London, so I was traveling into London to work, and it was the normal when you know, go for drinks after work and this and that, and the commute. Really not my style.
I was gonna say, would you almost say you weren't living in line with what you value? Maybe you felt like perhaps, I think because there's a lot of expectation around us growing up where it's like, right, 9 to 5, get a job. When you get to 25, you know, start to think about everything else. You need to own a property and all this. And I think there's so much pressure on us, isn't there? Like, we're just like, oh my God. And I think that's when I just like was like, right, I'm going traveling. Like, I needed to pause to just not escape, but just figure out what is going on, because I think there's a lot of pressure that comes in on us. And I think to find out what you do want, you need to experience the things. You need to go through the stuff you don't want, don't you? Obviously, you know, that's the only way you're going to really know. So
100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, fashion and things. And then that sort of led you to where we are now, where you are now.
Yeah, I know. So I qualified in lockdown to become a personal trainer, to be honest, at the time thinking I would do it as a side hustle.
Yeah.
If I was going to go back into 9 to 5, I was thinking, you know, lockdowns taught me that you can't rely on other people's businesses. And that's not me like trying to put anything down, anyone down. It's just how the world runs. If you're employed, you're at the hands of someone else.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, I'll have a side hustle. Ended up never being a side hustle, becoming full-time. Then, you know, fast forward to where we are now. Obviously, we were on Ollie's first course back in, was it like January or February?
I feel like it's just, I mean, we're in July now, and I'm sure it was January we've been there,
Yeah. So then pretty much that's where we ended up.
And what's quite interesting is what you've just mentioned, how like you thought it would be a side hustle, but then what you said about 10 minutes ago was you go all in on everything. You've done exactly that.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's a great trait to have, because I think if you do want to succeed, you need that, you know. It's, if you have too many things going on, spinning too many plates, it becomes very difficult. And so, like, do you feel like now where you are, you would say you are where you feel like you want to be, where you need to, like, this is you.
This is my, I half say it as a joke, but also being dead serious. This is my calling. I feel like this is my calling in life. Doing what I'm doing as a job. But even since doing the course with Ollie, yourself, and all the other personal trainers, I just think now, I don't know, maybe I'm sure you probably feel the same. You just feel a lot more in control of my own life and my own future.
Yeah.
which is very grounding, actually. It's quite grounding to know that you've got, that if you don't do the work that you said you were going to do,
we've heard that a few times,
and you don't get the rewards, then that's your problem.
That's
no one
you.
else's at this point.
And I think for me as well, I think it's been amazing for business and things, but personally, like I was very rigid before as well. And I wasn't like not open to change, but I was a bit hesitant because like I don't even mind saying this. Like I was a bit kind of like obsessed, I was a bit obsessive with a few different things. And I would have to do these things a certain way. You know, I know this is, and I think once you bring someone in, you invest into somebody who can, I don't know, that pressure just, it's almost like you're helping me. So do you know if that kind of makes sense?
Yeah, no, that really does make sense.
Because I almost see Ollie as obviously a great business coach, but then I guess what he's obviously done and surrounding yourself with people, like-minded people, can do for you in general in life.
Yeah, and I think being a coach, being a personal trainer can be quite lonely.
Yeah.
It's excuse me. I don't know many personal trainers. I've got to be honest. The only personal trainers doing fully booked in the course with Ollie was the people who I worked with.
Yeah.
So automatically that's only a very small amount of people, and the values that maybe I had and wanted to express as a coach didn't quite align. Whereas now I feel like we all bounce off each other. We're all out to help each other.
Yes.
And it's so nice to be like, oh yeah, you're smashing it. That's such a good idea. Da, 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 da. You just feel like this constant buzz.
Yeah, because I think
really
again,
nice.
like when I found when I first started, it felt very dog eat dog. And it was like, you know, people wouldn't want you to do well. And I'm like, it's like, why does it have to be like that? And I hated it because I was always a team player. Like before I was a personal trainer, I worked in engineering. I worked with a little team. And I think like, I always wanted to help people, which is again why I felt like I come into the industry. And I think, like, so then to come away from that to be like, literally everybody chasing everybody, I'm like, oh my God, like, is this how it is? And then once now where we are now with the group we have, I think it's like everybody's pushing each other to get better, to improve. And I think you can't put a price on that, in my opinion.
No, and I think the nice thing is as well, if something's going to make us a better coach, or we feel will help our journey or our client's journey, it gets shared.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my gosh, I've just found a pot of gold and it's all for me.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's spread out across everyone. The ideas are shared, and that helps every single one of us because all of our brains are going to be wired differently.
Yeah.
It's like being in a classroom at school. Someone might be better at maths and someone might be better at English, and they help each other to be good at each. It's exactly the same kind of principle.
100%.
When it comes to anything.
I mean, like when you get qualified as a personal trainer, they don't tell you how to run a business, do they, as well? And I think everybody's got their own little, like you say, like when it comes to things like Canva, not the best. But when there's other areas, and I think we've got to remember, going back to what you just said there, why we got into this industry is to essentially help and transform people's lives. By you and I sharing tips with each other and the rest of the group, we're going to help more people. So essentially, we're going to have more of an impact on the industry and on people's lives, which for people to be like, no, like, let's be honest, like no one's created a lot of it's obviously there's new ways to do things, but it's probably going to have been done in a different way, but it's how we make it our own and deliver it in our way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I do totally know what you mean. Which
I think is important to remember, because I think like, you know, there's so people are always bang on about the same stuff. Carry this, and it's like, you know, and people will lay it differently, won't they? People will relay it in a different way rather than just. But no, that's pretty cool. Have you got any what's next? What's next for you, Liv? What's on the cards? Have you got anything upcoming? Any holidays? Anything?
No.
No, there's nothing wrong with that, me neither.
Literally, no. I think, no, I would like to go on holiday, but you know what? I went on holiday at the start of this month and it was pure stress to get there. So worth it.
Yeah.
If anyone is traveling, like, go for it. Obviously, thank gosh we can actually get out of the country.
100%.
But I think I'm going to save it for a little bit further down the year or next year.
Where was it? Was it Marbella you went, Liv?
Yeah, I went to Marbella with the girls and it was unreal. Obviously, it was going to be unreal, but we ended up traveling from Cardiff and I live in Southwest London. So, yeah.
Why
is
that,
not miss
then?
a pool party.
Why is that?
So our flight got cancelled about 3 weeks before. Fine, we'll book another one. Booked another one 4 hours before our cab was meant to turn up to get us. Our flight got cancelled and we all panicked because we wanted to get there in time for this pool party.
Yeah.
It's a group of 5 girls, by the way, who we have been so buzzing for this pool party for months. There was no way we were missing it, not for anything. We would have swam. Honestly, we probably would have swam.
I mean, you'd have been all right.
There's 5 seats left on this one. Yeah, well, I don't know about that. There was 5 seats left on this flight from Wales and we booked it, got in a car and drove to Cardiff.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. At least you got there. Yeah. That's the main thing. And I'm assuming the weather was pretty good as well because it was rusting over here as well, wasn't it? So
yeah, it was nice. It's nice to relax and chill and just spend time with the girls and, you know.
How do you find, do you struggle to switch off or from business?
Yeah, I can do. I think I've got a lot better at it. I've improved a lot. When I was previously working in the commercial gym, I would work 50 hours a week and I would be working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and then repeat.
Oh my God, your energy level. What?
Yeah, so I was very like
I can imagine. Yeah.
Now,
like where do you fit everything else in that?
Good question. You don't. I could not do. I didn't barely saw my boyfriend.
Yeah.
He works obviously that 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Lifestyle. So when I was working, which was predominantly evenings, he was off work. Typical. And same as weekends, I would be in the gym doing a spin class or training, coaching, whatever it might have been, and he'd be at home. So times have changed for sure. I have a much better balance and it works out really well.
What kind of things, Liv, did you put in, like what sort of things did you put in place to try and kind of reduce it? I know obviously you made the transition away from that particular gym, but is there any other strategies in which maybe you had in place, like certain times, not cutting things off and stuff? Or
so I do face-to-face training and online coaching. My face-to-face, I only have this day to this day, so I'll only do 4 days a week, where if you want to train with me, you can train with me on those days, those hours. So I've been a lot stricter as to timings and days, a bit like if you were going to go and get a doctor's appointment or a hairdresser's appointment. You can't just choose your own time and pluck it out of thin air.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just say, oh, well, I can only do this time. It's like, well,
sorry, we're shut.
Yeah. So
definitely that. Also having 2 phones massively helped me. Life-changing.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Life-changing.
It has been something. Ollie did mention it to me a while ago. I've not got around to doing it yet, but I think it would be a benefit because even like now, I currently work where I am, but it's the same place that I would eat like my evening meals and things, but I sit at a different side of the table because that is like it's just like a way of splitting it up. Because I mean, like at the moment, like I'm still living with my mum, but then when we move out in October, obviously I'll be able to have my own little office, which will be really nice. But I think you've just got to look for little tips and tricks to try and create that split.
Honestly, I mean, it's been a few months that I've had 2 phones now, and it's one of the best decisions I made, without a doubt. I have my personal Instagram and my business Instagram. To be honest, I post nothing on my personal one, but it's very nice to be on my personal phone, and the only messages I get are from friends and family.
Yes.
And then on my business phone, if I don't have that out with me, business is at home.
Yes. 100%. I think that's a great idea, because like you say, you could be out for brunch, you could be out doing something with your partner. You get a message come through from a client, you're going to be instantly like,
I'll just reply. One second.
Let me just reply, because you're offering unlimited support. Do you know what I mean?
So it's unlimited, not 24-hour.
There you go. Unlimited. So kind of with all that being said then, so online coaching things, what sort of, like, who are you looking to help?
So for me,
like how does it kind of work for you, like with your online coaching things? Like, what sort of people are you looking to help?
My online coaching and my face-to-face are similar but different. For my online coaching, it's very much about becoming a bit of a boss ass bitch.
Yeah.
Being able to, there's a big thing about how you can't lose fat and build muscle at the same time. People think you have to do one or the other, but you can do both.
Yeah.
With the right manipulation, the right tools. And for me, that's something that I want to help people do. So I help females shed the fat, build the muscle, feel just like,
love it,
unreal, super sexy, absolutely going to go out and boss it. But a big part is not missing out on those social occasions. There is no FOMO, because you can go everywhere. You can go everywhere. You can go out. You can do everything. Go out for drinks. Listen, I'm not saying go have a takeaway every day, but if you want a McDonald's breakfast after a hangover, have it.
Yeah. I completely understand, because that makes complete sense, doesn't it? You know, we know if you're restricting yourself over time, you're going to encourage that. So
yeah. And I think obviously like you said, we've both sort of been in those similar kind of places, maybe one extreme and the other.
Not very nice place to be, really, is it? But
no,
I think from our experiences of that's why we can. I'm obviously not a specialist in that field. It's a, it's a little bit on my practice, but from previous experiences, you can see it coming from other people.
Yeah.
And you can almost look to put in methods that we've used as well to try and combat that. Which I think is super important, because it is more common than you think. I think the more people that do talk about it, by this, I'm just talking about like a little bit of a kind of eating disorder. I don't mind saying that I've experienced little bits of that disordered eating and things, but I think the more people that talk about it, Liv, like the more normalized it can be. I think because it's a big thing, isn't it? It's a big thing.
Yeah, 100%. I think you learn. It's very hard to say that it was meant to be. I sort of always believe things happen for a reason, in a weird sense. Okay. So for example, those things, it was crap, and it really did. It was awful. However, it sounds so backwards, but I genuinely believe I'm a better coach because of it.
Because we've experienced it. We've been in the trenches. From what you and I spoke about briefly, like there was times where we were similar in terms of I wouldn't leave the house, and I think you mentioned that you might have experienced something similar. And I think to not be able to do that, but to have experienced it makes us a better coach, because we can hopefully help people with that.
It sounds so bizarre, doesn't it, when you really think about it?
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, but I think it's very, very common. And I think people, I honestly ignored it for so long. I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And this, this was only a few years ago. I was like, I'm fine. It was my mum that was like, everything all right, and I started to get a bit leaner. And by the end of it, I was like, there's obvious. And then once I understood it, it's about, you have to understand it, don't you?
It's interesting that you say that. I was very similar, because I think if anyone who might be out there, female, male, whoever, you're never going to think in yourself that it's got to the point that you need to reach out.
Yeah.
Point blank. I always knew in the back of my head that it wasn't okay. I once got into bed, cried because I really wanted pizza, and I was hungry. I was craving pizza, really, really wanted it, but I was like, I can't have it. And then got more upset because I was upset about the fact that I was thinking about pizza.
Yeah.
Literally makes no sense.
No, 100%. Yeah.
And it was only when actually my boyfriend, who I'm very lucky is extremely patient, very supportive, but he said, look, I'm finding this really hard. I think something needs to be done, something needs to change. And as soon as I realized it was affecting the people who I love most around me, I changed.
Yeah.
But if it was when I thought it was only affecting me, I was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm fine.
I'll keep going.
Yeah.
And they say, don't they, that I used to pull my hair out, but I mean, I was really frustrated because I was like, what has triggered this? Like, there's got to have been something years and years ago. And I was like racking my brains to think, and I think a lot of it, like, I liked to be in control in a way. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like a bit like, right, no, this is me. Like, I wouldn't go to certain occasions, and that would make me feel good because I'm in control.
Yeah.
But then in my head, I was like, I've been asked to go out with my friend. I've not seen him for 6 months and then I would feel upset, and then it would just go round and round and round. And then obviously, I think the best thing you can do in that position is obviously speak to somebody close to you, and then
100%.
Potentially get some help, because
100%. I think this year is the first. So obviously I went on that girls' holiday.
Yeah.
Last year, so 2021 and 2020, I said no and pulled out of those holidays because I was too controlled. I couldn't face it.
Yeah.
So this year, to go away and actually have like literally had the best time.
How did you feel as well, like, while you were there? Good.
Oh, so good. It was nice to just go out and just like feel. I don't want to use the word normal because it sounds very, but I felt normal. I felt normal for the first time in a really long time. I felt very normal, and I was like, oh, I've got this. This is good.
And do you know what? Hats off to you, because I think that's a massive turning point as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, because when it's around food, you need food to bloody live. So like to go out and to be present, to be mindful, and just enjoy it and be like, oh, it's fine, it's good. That's massive, like huge. So I think to kind of summarize this, I think people just need to, people need to speak. People need to speak up, and
totally.
It is normal to experience these things, especially when I found when I wanted to lose some weight. That's how I think it started.
Yeah.
So I was like a bit insecure about my body. I didn't feel confident. I already was saying no to things because I didn't feel confident. So what did I do? Went in a way too big of a deficit, pumped up cardio. This was obviously years ago when I didn't really know how to do things properly, but I learned from it. And then from there and there was no off button. And I think and that is a very common thing. I think when people are starting a diet, they need to consider what you've got to do safely. as well.
Yeah. I think it's something that needs to be a long-term journey.
Yeah.
And I think the ironic thing was what led me to having these issues with food was actually a program that was meant to be helping me build muscle. And I look back and I think, how did that even happen?
Yeah, that's nuts.
But it was on the program. It had 2 example structured days, had X amount on a training day and X amount on a not training day. Obviously, I won't say the numbers.
Yes, of course.
But it was massively.
Yeah.
But I look back and it was
scary. Yeah.
Way too low, and I stayed like that for like 6-7 months.
As well, like there's so many implications. I believe even more so for a female as well, because hormones and things that you can, and it's just, do you know what? It is really scary, and it is upsetting. Like the more I talk about it, I'm like, I'm so happy that I've, like we said, experienced it, but it's so sad as well at the same time.
Totally.
But I think that is a fantastic way to kind of round off this conversation. Personally, I think it's a good. I think that if people can take something away from that, especially. But before we go, Liv, obviously the audience may be curious to kind of know a little bit more about you. Maybe some people might want to jump on and feel like a boss ass bitch. Where can these people find you? Is Instagram
Instagram is probably your best protocol. Super easy, super basic name, pt.liv. Can't really go wrong.
I'll pop it in the show notes. I'll pop it in the show notes as well, Liv.
Perfect. And then also I've got my website as well. So if anyone did want to kind of have a look and take a look at the website, what some of my clients already say, that's livefitcoaching.com. So nice and easy, super simple. If you want to feel like a boss ass bitch, I'm here.
Oh yes. Where do I sign up?
Oh, jump right on board.
Well, thank you very much again for your time. It's been an absolute blast. And you know, obviously we'll be continuing to grow going forward. So thank you again. I do hope you have.
Thanks for having me.
No, honestly, it's been a pleasure, a real pleasure. I hope you have a lovely weekend.
Likewise, enjoy.
And I will speak to you very soon.
See you later. Have a good one.
Bye bye.